Alrighty, welcome back to Hoppy Hour with Hayden. I'm your host, Hayden Paisano. Now, beer is something that many of us have enjoyed, but most of us have no idea exactly how it's made. Here to help us peel back the mystery of what goes on into our favorite brews is Evan Price, the co-owner and head brewer of Green Cheek Beer Company in Orange, California. Welcome to the studio, Evan. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're going to dive into beer, a little bit what goes on in the process. Let's start off by asking why beer? What exactly brought you into the world of beer, into working in beer? What attracted you to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the flavor of beer and the community of beer is something that was drawn to the most with all of what it was, where it just like brings people together in a way that, it's a celebration. The moment you bring out a beer can, and so it's relaxation and it's so many things all at once. And so I think it's just like, it doesn't feel like work.
Right. It's a gathering, bringing people together.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, you've worked in the beer industry in a while. I know before branching off in 2017, you worked at a couple breweries here in Southern California. In your opinion, what exactly goes into a good beer? What makes a good brew?
I think a lot of attention to detail really goes into, is what makes a good beer. There's so many little things along the whole process that you can mess up on. So it's almost more about making a list of all the things you can mess up on, more than the things that are like,
there's just things not to do.
Yeah,
right?
It's a long list of things not to do. And over time, that list gets longer and longer and longer, and then I think that's where you end up making a good beer.
Right. Through trial and error.
Yeah,
I guess.
Absolutely. Failing up is what I like to call it.
Failing up. There we go. I like that. Well, every beer can really be broken down into, I'd like to say, 5 ingredients, including love. But 4 ingredients: water, malted barley, yeast, and hops. How do these different ingredients or components of a beer add to the flavors or create different types of beers like ambers or lagers?
Love that. Yeah. So water is going to have its own influence in a variety of different complicated ways. We have malted barley that is going to be either caramelized or roasted or just kept lightly kilned, and those are going to create a range of different beer colors and beer flavors, and from pale Pilsner malts or pale Pilsner beers to red ales to brown ales to stouts to imperial stouts. So you have a really fun range of color and flavor there with different types of malt. From there you have hops. Different hops grown from different parts of the world are going to influence the way that beer tastes. Hops are going to add bitterness to the beer, which is very important whenever you have a kind of a sweet beverage of sorts without it. Mm-hmm. You have in Germany, a lot of earthy character and sort of spicy character come from those hops. And then whenever you get into the New Zealand and American-grown hops, these are going to be more citrusy, and they can range from tropical fruit to strawberry to so many other little interesting things, and cannabis as well.
Okay, well, so the hops is kind of where the fun comes in, the flavor and where you get to experiment a little bit more, right?
I mean, you can experiment every single direction, which is why we have so many different beer styles. I mean, there's over 100 different beer styles recognized at the moment, but it gets
probably going to keep growing.
It keeps growing every year. Absolutely. I mean, we're a brewery that makes 3 to 4 new beers every week that we're releasing nonstop, and so
that's awesome.
We don't keep a certain beer on tap at Green Cheek ever.
Yeah, well, very fun. Well, now that we know a little bit more about Green Cheek beers and brewing itself, would you mind showing us a little demonstration?
Oh yeah,
as to what goes on?
Let's jump over here.
Awesome, let's do it. Alrighty, so we already got a little concoction going over here of some sugar water, right?
Good,
as I'm learning. But how did we exactly come to this sugar water concoction mixture?
Yeah, we brewers call this wort, and our job as a brewer is to make sugar water. The yeast is the thing that makes the beer. So we start with filtered water. That's very important. We're adding certain type of minerals to that in order to make it taste a certain way. And then we are using our malted barley. They come, as pale as this in order to make light-colored beers, to crystal malt that's caramelized in order to make red ales, brown ales, amber beers, to roasted barley, which is roasted just like coffee and creates, the stout category and imperial stouts and stuff like that. Stuff's really fun. The first part of the process is we're going to crack this barley and we're going to mix it with water.
And this is called our mash, right?
Exactly.
This barley mixture.
So this mash is a process where the water is taking enzymes in the grain and converting starch into sugar. This is the beginning of the process where we're really just looking for sugar, but we're also looking for color, we're looking for flavor, and this is what creates body in the beer as well. There's so many different complicated things that we get to do here and fun things that we get to do here. But to simplify it here today, all we're trying to make is just a sugar water out of what this is.
Okay.
So here's our mash. This usually sits for around 30 minutes to anywhere from an hour. We then start running off into the kettle, which is going to be over here.
It's our mock kettle.
Our mock kettle. But over here, we start running off and we continue to sparge and rinse all of the sugar out of the grain as much as we can get.
Right.
And then once we are through this process, we then start our boil. And on the boil side of things is where we start using hops.
Okay.
The hops are going to add bitterness to the beer. They're a natural preservative. They're also the spice of beer. We're looking for flavor. We are looking for just a little bit.
Oh, I gotta drop one in. That looked too fun.
Just one. Just one. Just one for good times. Good job. All right. So this process is going to take us around 90 minutes of boiling, sometimes as short as 60. From here, we are then
cooling. So we don't have beer yet, right? Not quite.
Bitter sugar water is all we got. And so from here, we're then cooling it down. We're putting it into a fermentation vessel, and then we're adding yeast. Once we've added the yeast goes in and starts converting the sugar in the beer into alcohol and into CO2. It's also creating a range of different flavors, from something that's pretty neutral with a really light little fruit component to something that's more extreme. Think about bubble gum, think about banana, think about peaches. I mean, there's so many different characters that yeast can create as well. That's really fun. After this process, we can dry hop the beer with more hops. If we're making an IPA, we can add, if we're making something like that coconut beer right there, we added some coconut to that stout, and so many other little things. But after this process, it goes into a can, and we start drinking it.
That's my favorite part, right?
So
awesome. Which one do we have here?
So this one's called Radiant Beauty. This is a double dry hopped IPA, and so we're using a lot of hops in here, all from the Pacific Northwest. We are using a clean glass to pour this in.
First step, right?
Always.
Clean glass.
You notice how there's nothing sticking really to the sides here, and we have a nice head of foam sitting on the top. So that part of things is very important.
So this is the drinking part of beer, because I know there's a wine tasting technique.
Yeah.
Is there really a technique when it comes to beer to truly enjoy a first sip of beer?
I think, it's very similar to beer, it's very similar to wine, where you want to spend your time with it, Start out, get a little swirl to release those aromatics, give it a couple sniffs, think about maybe what it smells like. And this to me, it smells like fresh cannabis.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice grapefruit skin
a little bit of that
quality.
Bitterness, right?
Well, the bitterness is the thing that we're going to get on the palate.
Okay. Oh, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. So this is all going to be like, more tasting notes, on this side of things. But then whenever we get to the palate, that's where we can get sweetness and bitterness and acidity.
Okay. Oh, that is delicious.
So
very good.
This is a 7% ABV West Coast IPA, and as you can see, like that bitterness is like coats your entire palate,
right?
And then kind of also makes you want to just go in for another sip.
I'm right there with you. Well, this is phenomenal. And so you guys have these at Green Cheek right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is another West Coast IPA that kind of continues to rotate through all with the rest of our beers because we don't have any certain beer on all the time other than that lavender lemonade right there, this hard seltzer that we make that we really like.
Awesome. Well, I encourage everybody to go check them out. I love this. I'm going to definitely have to go in and have a couple more of these beers. But Evan, thank you so much for coming in today. I know everyone on the Hoppy Hour crew is going to have a greater appreciation for beer. I know I certainly do.
Appreciate that.
And hopefully our fans do too. And well, yeah, but thank you for being here. As always, this has been Hoppy Hour with Hayden. I'm your host, Hayden Paisano, and we'll see you guys next time.